In part 2 of this series, I brought up the idea that independence is an illusion, where independence means the state of being free from the control of others. It can apply to individuals, groups, or nations. Merriam-Webster Online defines it as freedom from outside control or support, while dictionary.com defines it as freedom from the control, influence, support, aid, or the like of others. I think the key word in these definitions is freedom, more specifically, freedom from control. We like to think that we have free will, that we make our own decisions and act on them. However, what we don't stop to consider is that every decision we make is from a mindset that was formed in us long before we made any decisions at all. Perhaps that's why Solomon wrote the following: "That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun." Is there anything of which it may be said, "See, this is new"? It has already been in ancient times before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of things that are to come by those who will come after. As the saying goes, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. In this day and age, many seek to unravel the past, and yet we do repeat it. Why? Because it is ingrained in our thinking, our mindset. We simply cannot help ourselves. As another saying goes, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Perhaps I'm being too simplistic, but based on what I have learned in Scripture, there are essentially only two mindsets: carnal and spiritual. The first is death, but the second is life and peace. Early in our lives, we enter the first mindset, the carnal mind. This is what is pictured in the Genesis parable and the story of Adam and Eve. How do we enter? By means of pride or our desire for independence. But remember, it's male and female. So the first mindset is under the control of the spirit of the world, but the second is under the control of the Spirit of God. See what I mean about independence? It's an illusion. For whether we realize it or not, we are always under the control of something other than ourselves. Now, before you pronounce me crazy, I would ask you to continue with me in order to get the full picture. So what do we mean by the spirit of the world? Is this a spirit outside of ourselves? Is it the devil, a fallen angel, who, along with his demons, is jumping in and out of people and wreaking havoc in our world? No, I don't think so. And that's a subject for another series. Friend, the following in Proverbs defines what is meant by the spirit of the world. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Remember, let's keep this simple. When filled with pride, we have a haughty spirit. What does a haughty spirit cause? A fall. Did Adam and Eve fall? They did, so might that suggest a haughty spirit? I believe it would, so it is this which is the spirit of the world. It's not something outside of us unless we're referring to it in others. Ah, the age of influence, where technology affords us more ways to influence each other than ever before. But despite this, that which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. And why is this? Because the carnal mind 5,000 years ago is the same carnal mind today. It is simply a mind absorbed in the love of the self. Cultures may change, and technology may increase, bringing bigger and supposedly better things into our lives. But the carnal mind then is the carnal mind now. Is there proof of what I say? Oh yes, lots of it. For example, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled, the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall come upon everything proud and lofty, upon everything lifted up, and it shall be brought low. These 6 things the Lord hates. Yes, 7 are an abomination to him, a proud look. So why do I define the carnal mind as a mind of pride? It's based on the following. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, nor indeed can be. Do you see it? The carnal mind is enmity, that is, hostile, hateful, adversarial, against God. So, for this reason, it is not subject to the law of God, nor indeed can be. When our hearts are full of pride, we are an enemy of our Maker. That being said, I cannot help but think of the following from the theory of stupidity by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. It's lengthy, but well worth the read. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. One may protest against evil. It can be exposed and, if need be, prevented by use of force. Evil always carries within itself the germ of its own subversion, in that it leaves behind in human beings at least a sense of unease. Against stupidity, we are defenseless. Neither protests nor the use of force accomplish anything here. Reasons fall on deaf ears. Facts that contradict one's prejudgment simply need not be believed. In such moments, the stupid person even becomes critical. And when facts are irrefutable, they are just pushed aside as inconsequential, as incidental. In all this, the stupid person, in contrast to the malicious one, is utterly self-satisfied, and being easily irritated becomes dangerous by going on the attack. For that reason, greater caution is called for than with a malicious one. If we want to know how to get the better of stupidity, we must seek to understand its nature. This much is certain, that it is in essence not an intellectual defect, but a human one. There are human beings who are of remarkably agile intellect yet stupid, and others who are intellectually quite dull, yet anything but stupid. We discover this to our surprise in particular situations. The impression one gains is not so much that stupidity is a congenital defect, but that, under certain circumstances, people are made stupid, or that they allow this to happen to them. Upon closer observation, it becomes apparent that every strong upsurge of power in the public sphere, be it of a political or of a religious nature, infects a large part of humankind with stupidity. It would even seem that this is virtually a sociological, psychological law. The power of the one needs the stupidity of the other. The process at work here is not that particular human capacities, for instance, the intellect suddenly atrophy or fail. Instead, it seems that under the overwhelming impact of rising power, humans are deprived of their inner independence and, more or less consciously, give up establishing an autonomous position toward the emerging circumstances. The fact that the stupid person is often stubborn must not blind us to the fact that he is not independent. In conversation with him, one virtually feels that one is dealing not at all with a person, but with slogans, catchwords, and the like that have taken possession of him. He is under a spell, blinded, misused, and abused in his very being. Having thus become a mindless tool, the stupid person will also be capable of any evil, and at the same time, incapable of seeing that it is evil. This is where the danger of diabolical misuse lurks, for it is this that can once and for all destroy human beings. I don't know about you, but I see the societies of this world in this explanation, including our own. And what might be the element behind this idea of stupidity? I believe it is pride, the haughty spirit, the inordinate love of the self. And because it is rooted in love, it's extremely difficult for us to be free of it. Remember, there are just two mindsets, two ways of thinking. One brings division, but the other brings unity. One is prideful, but the other is humble. At this point, I will close with the following, but be sure to join me as I continue in this series. He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God?